What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Trey Talk Podcast. Alongside me is Mr. Matt, co-host. Of course, Jason Ryback is also here. Under our new format, Matt and I have no idea what's going to be gone today. Jason has scoured the internet for some business topics, relatable things that we get to put our spin on. And of course, our Trey Talks Podcast is hosted on our YouTube channel called Glass Guy. We'd love for you to subscribe, comment, like, share. Got a lot of viewership actually on the last one so far. But without further ado, we're going to get this show started. Matt, thanks for joining us. Jay, let's kick it to you.
Thank you. Well, I was waiting for you to ask me how the hell I was. But on that note, let's kick it off. Here in Florida, we know there's never a shortage of chaos. Mm-hmm. And this week was no different. We had something that made waves nationally and happened right here in Southwest Florida. There was a viral video that went around with the self-proclaimed world's best charter captain, Brock Horner. I'm sure many of you have seen this. If you have not seen it, just a quick little recap. There's a young kid. He's fishing by himself in his boat underneath one of the bridges, and apparently Brock Horner, the charter captain, comes through with his whole boat full of people, and he's going at a high rate of speed. So the kid kind of yells at him to slow down, and then it turns into an altercation. Now, eventually, Mr. Horner boards the kid's boat and threatens bodily harm. Mm-hmm. I thought that the kid handled himself pretty well. But if you were in his shoes, how would you have handled it differently to prevent this from escalating the way it did?
Please.
Okay, well, first of all, if I was in his shoes at his age, I don't know that I could have did a better job than he did. I think knowing what I know now, the best way is just not to even say anything. Because it's obvious to me that guy had been drinking, the captain had been drinking. And so anything that you say that is in a negative manner towards that guy is just going to fuel the fire. But the animal instinct within me would have wanted to kill the guy. The second he jumped on the boat, because I'm thinking, I have a kid, and if this guy boards the boat, I think, he would have been in his legal right to protect himself, actually, to shoot that guy and make him shark bait. But it was extremely uncomfortable to even watch the video as this guy's doing this. And I think he's got a history of doing stuff like this. He's got quite the criminal record. Matt, what say you?
I completely agree with you on that. When I saw that video of him jumping on the boat, first off, I thought, it's Florida and everyone's got a gun, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, why would you ever do that? And, stepping foot on someone else's boat, and same thought went through my head if, thank God that wasn't me on that boat, because that would have been a very different outcome. The kid handled himself well, and this guy does have a history. I think I saw another clip of him doing the same thing, not hopping on the boat, but, having an altercation with someone that was...
There is another video going around of him doing that.
Brick.
And they have a nickname for him, too.
What is it?
I don't know. But
Brick.
That's what the guy's like, we all got a nickname for you because he's such an asshole that everyone knows about him. But now he's in jail.
Well, I don't understand the name.
That's what he calls him. In this other video, there's another, evidently another charter captain out there fishing, and this Brock is giving him crap, and he's like, Brick, get out of here. And he's like, call me Brick again. And he's like, that's your nickname. That's what everyone calls you.
So what is it? Brock/Prick? Brick?
I guess. I don't know.
Probably what it is.
Pretty good.
I could see that coming. But that video was extremely cringe. And I think everybody that's watching that should know, especially if you're sending your kids out fishing, there's animals like that out there. So buyer beware. Keep your mouth shut. Keep to yourself. Even though that guy was in the wrong, especially when there's alcohol involved, you just never know. It's the same thing with road rage. You see people road raging all the time, and you just never know who you're going to rage against. And that Brock is going to meet his maker one of these times. I mean, he's only going to be able to get away with it so long before someone finally puts him to bed.
Well, that brings up another thing. Being the kid, I mean, I know, we were all there once, and sometimes you have a little bit of regret, and maybe you wanted to handle it a little bit differently.
You mean the kid after looking back, like I wish
I should have beat that guy's ass.
Yeah, hit him in the face with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he has some level of that, but now he'll be prepared for future incidents, and hopefully he never has one. But yeah, that was uncomfortable to watch. I reposted that video, got a ton of viewership after it.
Yeah, it was everywhere.
Everywhere.
It was everywhere. So, Matt, let me ask you, if you were one of the passengers on the charter boat, how would you have handled the situation?
Oh.
Yeah, I would have immediately asked him to. Yeah, you know what? I would have hopped on the kids' boat and have him take me back. I wouldn't even go back with the guy.
I think
I'd say that's completely unacceptable.
Unacceptable. Wasn't one of the guys a firefighter? An off-duty firefighter?
I'm not sure. I know he claimed they were all former military. And
well, that Brock said that. None of the other guys
Correct.
said that.
Correct.
I think there's some accountability on their end as well for not like, hey, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, first of all, if you're the captain, us, and we're a paying customer, I'm not paying to watch you berate some little kid. So just shut up and let's keep moving. Like they actually allowed that to happen, which is kind of sad. So
well, it's got to be like probably the most uncomfortable feeling, because it's like, if I get involved, is he going to just leave me out here in the middle of the water, or And
at his emotional level, as soon as one of those other guys said something, now it's all going to turn to him. So yeah, uncomfortable.
Well, obviously, Mr. Horner, as a businessman, and even more so as a human being, did not handle that properly.
No.
In business, we're faced with working with people who, from all walks of life, that sometimes we encounter them. They're angry, hostile, irrational, customer or contractor. And whether it's warranted or not, I just had a situation like that this week. I had to deal with a contractor who was furious, and it took every bit of me not to kind of feed into that. So when you're dealing with a customer or a business partner that is hostile, what are some ways, some techniques that you use possibly with emotional intelligence to try and soothe the situation?
Matt, why don't you go ahead, because I could talk about this for an hour. Let you go first.
Yeah. One thing I've learned working here is tonality. It's a game changer. It's very hard to argue against someone that has no interest in arguing. The second my voice spikes up, or I'm become combative to the person that's hostile with me, there's no end in sight. But keeping the tone slow, being very clear with what you're saying, it almost, rewires their brain into like, wait, am I arguing with someone, or am I, just...
I think Matt's spot on. It takes two to fight. And if one's not fighting, you can almost, Voss says, turn it into a dance. We deal with the mad, the sad, and the glad every day. And when somebody is already hostile or mad, there's no logic going through their brain. It's just raw emotion. And so the best way I found, and by the way, I've been on both sides of this. I went to most of my career just thinking, well, if they're going to be loud, I just got to be louder. And that is obviously not the right way to handle it. Like Matt said, the tonality, maybe label it, seems like this is an emergency for you. Sounds like this is a huge problem. And kind of just almost therapeutically allowing them to kind of get all that visceral out and wait. I think a lot of Joe Rogan talks about this. A lot of fighters that are aggressive, the best thing to do when you go into this fight is just kind of play defense and let the other guy kind of get out all that anger, and he almost tires himself out. And
Punches himself out, yeah.
The same thing almost happens in a verbal argument. Let them get all that anger out without fueling it any further. Dialing your voice back, make it a very soothing, calming situation, I think, is the best way to handle a argumentative or hostile customer. And remember, the other thing is, Matt, when a client I don't know why I just said, like I'm telling you, you need to know this. When a client is dealing with us and sometimes can be mad, we have no idea what's going on in their life. A lot of times we're the last subcontractor on the job, and it's been 6 months, overdue when they should have been in the house. They're $1 million over budget. Every other tradesman before us has, delayed the project or gave them some excuse. So like sometimes they're just fed up and they just bundle us in with the rest of them. So it's our job to help center them and not make this even a greater problem for them. I think it's our responsibility. And even though it never gets talked about, it's an important dynamic.
Well, I think another important thing too is if you know that you're going to encounter a situation like this, trying to take all that off the table, you almost take that power away from them right at the beginning.
I love that. By the way, this is a very perishable skill. It is not easy to do. When someone's berating you with an aggressive, curt tone, and you know full well that you have no responsibility in whatever it is that they're putting on you, it's hard not to want to like fucking jump back at them, but there is no benefit from that. So it is incumbent upon us as professionals to try and temper, get it, guys? Temper the emotions when dealing with a customer like that.
Okay, so maybe not an angry customer, but I just encountered a deceitful customer this week. Who tried to go to you and claim different things were told to him when everything was in writing, thankfully. But you will sometimes get customers that will kind of go around, maybe go to another associate in the hopes that they get the answer they want. Kind of like
this is no different with our kids.
Mom and dad, exactly. Yeah.
I asked mom for something, I didn't get it, so I wait a minute and go talk to dad without telling dad that mom said no.
So when a customer like this is lying or blatantly deceitful, how can we go about handling this situation while still preserving the relationship?
Oh, this is...
Go ahead.
Are you thinking the same thing as me?
I don't know.
We had a perfect situation last week where we have the most deceitful customer, and we kind of have to just sit there and act like we don't know. And it's actually very interesting because us trying to figure out, there's a lot of talking in the background going on. How are we going to approach this customer? Because he's lying to us.
We know he's lying.
We know he's lying, and he's really trying to rip us for all we got, going back to the negative reciprocity. And, I'm going to pass it over to Keith because...
Okay, well, so two things. Regarding that customer there, we're at a point where we almost have to call his bluff, and we're going to allow time to kind of let the dust settle and see how important we are to him by not getting back to him. Just kind of almost do the reverse ghosting. And if he comes crawling back to us, then we know there's a legitimate opportunity there. I think he's just using us to get the price down. But in regards to your question, Jay, how do you handle a deceitful customer? One of two things can happen. Some customers, a majority of them, I think, start off being deceitful because they just don't know how to negotiate. So maybe they have good intentions. They don't know what to do. And they were raised in an environment where their parents or people close to them, this is how they negotiate it. We just lie to the customer until we can get a better price somewhere else, or so-and-so told me something, so what are you going to do for me? And if you can kind of rebuttal that without being combative, usually somebody that's lying right out of the gate doesn't have a secondary lie set up. And you can kind of subliminally get them in a corner to find out what's really going on. But again, this all starts with tonality. Not elevating the, aggressiveness of the conversation, not
right.
Calling the person a liar, oh, I caught you, you lied to me. That none of that's going to help. Now, it's human instinct to want to say something like that, but it's so important not to.
But instead, you're almost subtly making them know that you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very innocuous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I think the guilt will kick in and they'll almost recorrect it themselves. And also, if they don't recorrect it and you give them an opportunity to, then you've just found out this isn't somebody I want to do business with. I don't want to do business with a liar or someone that's trying to cheat me. Why? I already know what I'm getting into.
Right.
And if they're lying about this, are they going to lie about paying us when the job's done? Or are they going to lie about giving us a Google review that they promised? How about the customer that says, oh, if you give me a good price here, I'm going to make sure you get a ton of referrals. We all know how that goes.
Right.
I'm still waiting.
Well, not just deceitful customers, but sometimes businesses can be deceitful. In this particular customer you're talking about is a perfect example because they provided information on another business that is competing with us on this particular project. And Matt, doing his due diligence, looked up the website and found all sorts of errors on the website. It just didn't seem right. So there were fake Google reviews. All the photos were kind of stolen from elsewhere on the internet. But that begs the question. Now we know this customer is being duped. How do we handle that? Do we tell the customer? And if so, how do we do so without making it look like we're malicious towards the other company or it's sour grapes?
Well, that's tough because we talked about this at nausea, and I'm of the opinion that we can't 100% confirm that he's not aware that that other company is not even legitimate. He might fully well know that, but he wants to use what their price was against us. And I fear by bringing that up that it makes us look like, we should only be worrying about ourselves. And what does it look like to the customer if we start bad? Oh, wow, you're getting this price from a guy that is working out of his house. He's only got one Google review that's got 1 star on it. On his website, he says he's got 100 Google reviews, but they're fake because they're not, when you go to Google search, it's not there. And so I run the risk, like how would I feel if somebody I was about to do business with was just focusing on the negative part of the competition? And it's so easy to want to bring it up, but I don't know, it just feels funny. I know I would feel weird about giving, like if you said to me, Keith, that other company you're getting a price from, they're lying and they're cheating. That's not going to make, okay, here's my money. It never once has that been my decision maker or ever would be.
Right.
If anything, it would make me a little skeptical about the mean streak that's going on you. So I think it's important not to bring that up. And if you're going to do it, it's got to be very, very tastefully done, tactfully. Almost like they have to ask you, do you know anything about this other company? Or, are you a little apprehensive about this other company? Is there anything that I should know that I'm not seeing? But he's not saying any of that. He's just using it to pull one lever for the other.
So maybe make him kind of doubt himself and do his own research.
Yeah. What's really important to you? Is the service important? Is the quality of installation important? Is it being able to get a hold of somebody? God forbid you have a problem. What is important to you? And if he tells you something that's massively important that you don't believe aligns with that other company, maybe you can bring it up then. But yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know if there's any perfect answer, but I don't know that bashing the other company is definitely the way to go.
Well, one of the things he had that I mentioned was he had some stolen Google images. And we ourselves have had that happen to us before. Matter of fact, one time a competitor posted photos as if they were their own, and it was actually your parents' shower.
Yeah, I remember that.
The question, though, is when you post pictures on the internet, like on your website or social media or anything like that, do you think that it's okay for others to use those pictures? Is it kind of like, do they have free reign now? And if not, how do we protect ourselves aside from doing, watermarks or things like that? Is there any creative ways that a company can protect themselves?
I don't know what the legality is on that. Now, this is coming from somebody who repackages people's content all the time. Like I'm finding reels and other things that I feel like once you put it on the internet, it's for the public's consumption. So if we put a picture out there and someone else decides to screenshot that and use it in a post or send it to another client, I have no problem with that. It's when they take a picture and make it a staple, like on their website or on a piece of literature that they're handing out customers, because now that's being deceitful. You're you're giving the illusion that this is something that you completed, but it's not yours. There's a real fine line on that, because if we're willing to put it out on the internet, that means it's for everybody to enjoy.
It was like in high school when you had those long papers due and you could buy them. Remember, you could buy someone else's paper.
You're right. I don't know. I don't know what any of the legal ramifications are. What do you think? I don't think there is any.
I don't believe there is any, but it is disingenuous. And, I mean, anyone that knows that that is going on should surely never do business with someone like that. But when you're trying to anchor a price and you're trying to get the best company to do it for the worst company's price, you kind of cover your eyes and go, well, how did I know those weren't his pictures? Or how did I know that the Google reviews weren't fake?
It would be easy. You could see where somebody would do
We're
that.
talking about a very smart individual,
Shark.
who, he's been doing this a long time. And I remember when we hinted at the fact that this guy he was dealing with was disingenuous, and it was almost like his cover had been blown, and he was like, well, no. And he just talked in circles and circles, almost to the point where we couldn't even go down that road with him anymore, because he had his barrier set up, kind of like, hey, don't attack that situation again because it pisses me off. But it shouldn't, because we're looking out for the customer in the end. Whether he works with us or not, we should be able to tell him, hey, this could spell trouble for you.
Yeah, and he knew it. You knew it.
I almost wonder if maybe we'll start seeing companies, instead of posting photos on their website, maybe they have a photo and there's almost like a green screen and someone's in front of it talking about what's in the photo. So now you really can't steal it, right?
It would be better, but there's, the way the internet is.
Oh, yeah,
you can get pictures everywhere. I find it brazen that a company would go take a screenshot of a photo and then go to their web designer and say, hey, I want you to upload all these photos. Here's some jobs that we've done. And they have no qualms about it whatsoever.
And then even go and put them in a print.
Yeah. We've been dealing with that since we've started, so it's just part of the game.
So, Matt, you inspired me last week with your Apology Olympics.
Ooh, I like games.
And I've come up with my own game for this week.
Okay, let's go.
So it's time to dust off those brain cells and get ready for Guess My Success.
Okay, guess my success. I like it.
I'm going to give a few short facts about a successful entrepreneur, and each of you will get the chance to name either the person or persons. If there's multiple, you can
Sure.
answer just one, and or the company they successfully ran.
Okay.
You'll get 1 point for each correct answer. However, if you guess both the name of the person and the name of the company, you'll receive an additional bonus point.
Okay, let's go.
Are you ready
Ready.
to guess my success?
Perfect.
I am the co-founder of not one, but two legendary businesses. Despite my net worth today being nearly $3 billion, it wasn't always champagne and caviar. I grew up in a struggling single-family home, and at the age of 9 began selling newspapers and Christmas cards to help support my family. At the age of 22, I was homeless and living on the streets for the first time, with a 2-year-old son to take care of, no less. In 1980, after serving in the Navy and working a series of odd jobs ranging from janitor to door-to-door encyclopedia salesman.
Wow.
Remember those? I found myself living in the back of a 20-year-old Rolls Royce. It was then that I, along with my partner, were able to secure a $700 startup loan to launch what would become the first of these legendary companies. Due to the success of this company, 9 years later, I was able to co-found one of the most successful spirits companies in the world. As a result of my homeless stints, I helped start the Community First Village, 51 acres of land in East Austin dedicated to housing Austin's homeless population. Though I have since sold both of these companies for a hefty number, my entrepreneurial spirit lives on in many other new ventures. Who am I?
I think I know who this is.
Oh, come on. No way.
Way.
I have no idea, but I want to say something. You said his net worth was $3 billion.
Yes.
That is it's not high enough for everyone to know him, but it's also that's the part that's throwing me off. The $3 billion.
I wish there was a little bit more as to what his first business was to validate this, but when you said the second business, I kind of had an idea, and I struggle with pronouncing his name or saying it right, but is it the guy that started Paul Mitchell?
It is.
Oh, wow.
And the spirits company was Patron.
Correct.
Yes, John Laurier? No,
You're close.
Valorier?
You're close. Jean-Paul DeJoria.
DeJoria, that's it.
So he co-founded Paul Mitchell Products,
Yep.
Patron Tequila, and something you may not know was also a founding partner of the House of Blues nightclubs.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would have never got that.
They had one in downtown Disney there for a while, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
They still do.
Cool.
Yep.
House of Blues.
Okay, well, 2 points for Keith.
Yep. Number 2.
This one might be a little tougher.
Oh, great.
I'm the co-founder of a cloud-based computing company that was ranked by Forbes magazine as, quote, the most innovative company in America. Although my company is primarily recognized for its business strategy, I, on the other hand, am known as a guerrilla marketing genius. Known for throwing crazy parties with up to 90,000 guests, hosting the likes of Metallica and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, my marketing strategy goes far beyond entertaining. I once hired fake protesters to disrupt my biggest rival's conference, complete with picket signs, chanting, and even a fake TV crew. This drummed up a lot of attention from my company at my rival's expense. On another occasion, I rented an entire airport's taxi fleet right before the same rival was having a nearby event. Every passenger was then subjected to a sales pitch for my company, much to the displeasure of my rival. In 2023, I was at the center of great controversy and forced to apologize for a poster I had made featuring the Dalai Lama that said, quote, "There is no software on the path to enlightenment."
I like this guy.
Despite, and more likely because of my marketing strategies, the company I founded is now worth a staggering $245 billion. Who am I?
Holy shit.
You said a cloud-based service?
Yes.
I feel like I should know who this is because of all the marketing, and I'm drawing a blank. I don't even know if I have a guess.
Do you have hints for each after the story?
I can give you a hint.
I think we're both would need a hint.
This software would be used heavily in sales.
Okay. My guess it's going to be Salesforce,
You're absolutely right.
but I don't know who the guy is. I'm assuming it's a guy.
It is.
I don't even know what Salesforce is, so.
It's a CRM, like we use HubSpot, but
Right.
Salesforce was like the first like real big CRM to come to market.
So his name is Mark Benioff.
Mark Benioff.
He's the co-founder of Salesforce, and he's also the co-chair and owner of Time Magazine since 2018.
No shit. So let's just get back to a little bit of his guerrilla marketing. What were some of the things that you said he did to disrupt what his competition was doing?
So he hired fake protesters and had them picket outside of his rival's conference that was going on. Then he even included a fake TV crew. But the other one, the best to me, where he rented out an entire fleet of taxis from a particular airport near where that rival was having an event. And every person that got into that taxi was subjected to a pitch for his company.
It's crazy.
I mean, that's
Crazy like a fox.
crazy like a fox. I mean, most business entrepreneurs wouldn't think that far ahead to, because you're worried about all the minutia with your business and your employees and getting new acquisitions. But this guy took it a step further. Not only are we going to worry about that, but I'm going to go over here and disrupt possibly my only competitor with all this other crap going on. So I'm going to focus on growing my business, but I'm also going to focus on making sure they can't grow their business. Now, I'm not always necessarily for that. I think you should be 100% dialed in on yourself. However, I do like hearing stories about this.
That's cool, right?
The guerrilla marketing, because Nike's had some of those in the past that kind of made the news too, that I like.
Okay, so you've got a 3-0 lead right here. Matt, this is your time to catch up.
All right, let's go.
Things are going to start to get a little bit easier here.
Okay, good.
I am considered one of the brightest minds of all time, but that wasn't always the case. As a child, I was expelled from school, and the authorities deemed me to be unteachable and too stupid to learn anything. Thankfully, my mother believed in me, even taking time to homeschool me herself at one point. Despite her efforts, I still struggled when I entered the workforce. I was unceremoniously fired from several of my first jobs for, quote, not being productive enough. As an entrepreneur, the failure continued, taking more than 1,000 attempts to perfect my first breakthrough. After the agony of defeat, then came the thrill of victory. I have amassed 1,093 patents during my lifetime, and despite the years that have passed, many of these products are still in use today. Who am I?
Holy shit. This is easier? I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
We need a
Okay.
hint.
No idea.
Who is a part-time Fort Myers resident.
What? What?
Wait. Oh my gosh. Wait. Okay.
I think Matt knows it.
Yeah, I think I do.
Well, fucking say it.
Is this is this Thomas Edison?
It sure is.
Oh, no shit.
There we go.
Yep. Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb, movie projector, and phonograph.
Wow. Okay, I wasn't thinking that far back. Okay, you got me.
Yeah,
Good one, Matt.
The timeline, yeah.
Okay. Well, since there was no company for that, I think Matt should get 2 points for that.
Yeah, we can have that.
So it's 3-2. Many people consider me the greatest, most successful entrepreneur in my field. There are a large group of people who borderline on worshiping me. Gods, however, do not have flaws, and I have had many. In fact, at one point, my failures had me living on dog food and unable to pay rent. My first intellectual property was lost in a contract dispute. Another, which would later become my greatest success, was rejected due to the belief that women would be afraid of it. Still, I persevered and landed my first real big break. To drum up excitement, I hired several little people to stand outside its premiere dressed as puppets to wave at prospective customers and their families. As payment, I provided them with food and wine for the day. By the time my presentation began, the little people were drunk, naked, and swearing at the crowd. I managed to overcome these failures and pioneer technology that revolutionized my industry, turning my company into a global empire. Who am I?
Oh my God. Did you say anything in there that had
did.
anything to do with the business?
I did.
The technology?
I didn't want to tell you what it is.
Yeah. Who am I?
What time frame are we? What year are we looking at here?
Is it Facebook?
1920s.
Oh, 1920s?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's not Facebook. 1920s. So this is before World War II.
Okay, the dog food makes sense in this case. That's the Great Depression.
Oh God, I have.
Okay, let me give you another hint. His industry is production.
Ford?
Oh no. Thought you had it there.
No, not manufacturing. Production, think movies.
Oh,
Hence why I said the premiere.
you did say that. I have no idea.
Animation.
Walt Disney?
Oh no.
It's Walt Disney?
No.
He hired the little people.
Walt Disney.
The animation gave it away.
So Walt Disney lost his first character, Oswald the Rabbit, in a contract dispute with Universal Studios. MGM Studios later rejected the idea of Mickey Mouse because they thought that women would be afraid of mice.
Oh.
And the disastrous first screening of Pinocchio, complete with drunken midgets, nearly ended him.
That makes sense. I like
Okay.
this game.
This one's going to be tough. Like, I don't know that any of you will get the name, but it's an interesting story. So,
Let's hear it.
I am the poster child for perseverance. Born in Brazil and raised in Utah, I co-founded a small regional transportation firm in the late 1980s. Several years later, at the age of 34, my company was acquired by one of the industry giants, where I received about $22 million for my shares. More importantly, I was excited at the prospect of staying on and later becoming the next CEO of that company. Just 5 months after the sale, that dream ended. I was fired by the new ownership, devastated, and with the presence of a non-compete clause, left to ponder my future. Although my non-compete prevented me from working for another transportation company domestically, it did not prevent me from a consulting position with a Canadian firm, WestJet. It was during that time that I came up with the plan for my greatest success. In February of 2000, operations commenced on my old company's newest and fiercest competitor. With the knowledge of what customers liked and improvements on what they didn't like, my new endeavor was a leader in the industry until my eventual firing, again, in 2007 after a series of operational failures. After being fired by the very company I helped create, I was devastated. Independently wealthy with a large family of 10 kids, most people would have stepped back. I did not. I took 10 of my closest employees and headed to Brazil, where I founded yet another company destined to become a giant in my industry. Still, I yearned to be back in the U.S. I raised $100 million, and in 2021, I started yet another up-and-coming company here in the U.S., where I plan to grow it into the powerhouse my former brainchild has become. Who am I?
Can I ask what type of transportation?
I gave you a hint in there.
You said EasyJet?
Is it Jesse Eisner from NetJets?
No. You're close, though.
So it's an airline? Okay. Man. The Brazil thing is throwing me off.
Virgin Airlines?
No.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good guess, though.
I don't know. I'm stumped. Can you give us another clue?
Yeah.
Are you ready for a clue?
Yeah.
Think
Give us a clue.
think more along the lines of budget airlines.
Spirit?
No.
Allegiant?
I said budget, not trash.
Frontier?
No.
Man.
Is it the actual airline itself, or is it the mechanism like Expedia, or no?
No.
I have no idea.
It's not Ryanair?
You
It's
got
not.
us.
Wow.
My name is David Neeleman. I founded Morris Air in the late 80s, which was acquired by Southwest Airlines.
Oh,
After being fired from Southwest, I became a consultant for WestJet, where I plotted my return. In 2001, I launched JetBlue Airlines
no
my
shit.
gosh.
and grew it to become an industry giant by taking the affordability of Southwest and combining it with the comfort of the other major airlines.
I love JetBlue.
After going to Brazil and starting Azul Brazilian Airlines,
Oh, shit.
I returned to the States, where I now serve as founder and CEO of Breeze Airways.
Never even
Yeah.
heard of it.
You haven't heard? They fly out of Fort Myers.
No shit.
They're one of them economy things, but this guy started
JetBlue.
three.
Wow.
Three major. I mean, he didn't start Southwest, but Southwest acquired him, so he was good enough to be acquired by them.
Right,
but then
right.
he went and started JetBlue, and now he's trying to take Breeze up there.
Like, where do you even start on something like that?
that's-
Think about it. That's crazy.
Especially coming from Brazil
yeah.
and then making an airline, like,
Yeah,
insane.
it's insane, right?
Wow.
It's amazing to
what
see
was
how
his name again?
his name was David Neeleman.
Okay, I have to look that up. That's neat.
Very.
It's amazing to see how failures can become a springboard for success.
Yep.
But while we're on the subject of airplanes, most of us having traveled quite a bit for either business or pleasure, I have to ask the age-old debate. Reclining the seat.
Oh.
Yes or no?
Okay. When I first was flying, I would never recline the seat because I was always worried about what the person was going to think when I did that because I knew how I felt when I did it. And then as I got older, I just realized, listen, these seats are made to recline, and I can't sleep with the seat straight up. Like, it just does something weird to my neck, so it's necessary for me to put the seat back. You can kind of tilt those two things in so your head kind of just stays in that pocket. I no longer am concerned about the people that are behind me.
Because you've gotten older and more ornery?
Yeah, well, and it just happened to me so much. It's like the realistic expectation of me not reclining my seat. The seats are made to be reclined. And so if you don't like it, tough shit.
Matt?
I don't recline. I also don't fly.
Because you're worried about what they might think?
Honestly, I don't even know how to recline the seat.
Really? Is a little butt right?
I don't even fly. Well, I don't. I fly on these budget airlines when I do.
They
fly.
all recline.
Do they really?
Yeah.
All of them.
Even
Now,
Spirit.
all of them. The thing is, they don't recline more than
You might get stabbed if you
Yeah,
recline on
2
Spirit.
or 3 inches. That's it. It's not like it's laying all the way back. Yeah, there's a little button. You kind of like sit back. But there's people that get fucking bent about people. I mean, there's fights on the plane. Like people recline their seat and they're fucking hitting it that like I'm eating or I'm trying to watch TV, and they try and shame the people in front of them. I've had situations like this.
Now, I would say I would not recline on Spirit because you have about this much leg space to begin with.
Yeah.
So that's just straight being an asshole.
Yeah.
And like I said, you're probably going to get stabbed.
Which
So-
is funny that you say that. So you're being an asshole for using one of the things that you've paid for. You paid for a seat that reclines.
I
but
agree.
we have to be concerned about what someone else might feel on us using that option. I want to ask this question while we're talking
Well,
about
hold on.
it.
Before you go there, I don't think that the reclining is even enough to make me comfortable to begin with.
Right.
No, I only recline to sleep.
Okay.
And I'm not looking for a situation on a plane. I'm not opposed to, doing something that might be unconventional that could have repercussions, but not on an airplane. It's just one place where you don't want to get into an argument. You in fear of being blackballed from fucking ever flying again. And somehow I would get in trouble for that. I know I would.
What if you're sitting in front of brick?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's going to be a fun
And
flight.
then you're going to get into a fist fight on the airline, and you'll never fly again. What about, why is it in this day and age that when we load an airplane, we load it from the front back? And to me, it just seems backwards. Now, the only logical reason that I've been given that I can kind of wrap my head around, because you start sitting in the plane, you're waiting, and there's just this huge line of people that kind of stand over you, and you're kind of sitting in your seat, looking at your phone, and someone's breathing down your back or fucking crop dust you while they're sitting there. It's like, but if they started in the back and moved forward, I just feel like it would flow better. And the excuse I got was people would get on the plane that are going all the way to the back, but didn't want to carry their luggage, and they'd hurry up and throw their luggage in the front part of the plane and walk all the way to the back instead of putting their luggage in their assigned spot, which, by the way, is my biggest pet peeve. If I'm sitting in a row where there's 3 people and the overhead bin is for our aisle, and I get there to my seat and there's 2 people there, but there's 7 fucking suitcases up there already. I know this isn't for all of them. So
Right.
Where's my stuff supposed to go? That drives me nuts. But I just can't believe we haven't come up with a quicker way to get people on the plane.
I got 2 reasons.
Okay, go ahead.
So there was a study done on this that if you boarded from the back to the front first, it'd be about 80% quicker, more efficient. Now, the reason they don't is because who's sitting in the front of the plane?
First class?
Right. And you're never going to let first class board last, right?
Well, why can't you let first class board and then go to the back and
Yeah.
up to the front?
Yeah.
Well, then what about the people in the middle who paid more than the people in the back? It's a whole thing about, I paid more, I get to board first, and the luxury of paying more and boarding first.
Maybe they need to charge more for the people in back.
You know what's wild about that, Matt, is I actually don't care about boarding first. I shouldn't say that. I do want to get on first, and it's because I'm afraid I'm not going to have a spot to put my fucking carry-on. But if I had my druthers and everybody played within the rules that they had set, I would prefer to get on last. I don't like sitting there with the people kind of standing above me looking at me. It just feels awkward. I would prefer to be the last one walking on the plane. But I always get anxiety about being the last one on the plane in fear of not having a spot to put my luggage. And then the stewardess come and say, we'll go ahead and just check this. I'm like, no, No, I don't want to check my luggage. I want to be able to, when the plane lands, I want to grab my suitcase and head to the Uber.
But also, another thing, imagine if boarding was 80% more efficient. How many people would miss their flight? A lot. So you would have to re-engineer the whole timetable of a flight, the whole 2 hours before the flight, boarding and all that stuff. It would have to be re-engineered if this efficiency was put in place. So, and I don't think that's a move anyone's ready to make. And the people that pay, maybe they pay 3 or 4 times more than, Joe Schmo sitting in the back in the emergency exit. They want to get on first. For whatever reason, I don't know, but maybe they,
Free drinks.
Those are my suspicions.
Well, last but not least, I want to touch on a story that we talked about last week and kind of revisited it a little bit. We talked about in Collier County how the FBI is investigating permit fraud. There was a 91-year-old former architect, now dementia patient, Gene Crevillian, who had his stamp being used on over 400 approved permits for homes.
Crazy.
Even though he had been in the hospital with dementia. The county has now come out and said that they're investigating a couple other potential stamp fraud issues with other architects. But more importantly, I want to read what they said, because they said that.
And who's saying this?
This was
Naples Daily News?
Well, this was in Naples Daily News.
They've been covering it a lot.
Yeah, it was actually, and I'm not sure if it's the one we know, but it was Jamie French, who's somehow on the board of Collier County.
Right.
And he said, well, first of all, in typical government fashion, they're bearing no responsibility for this. And so they state that the homeowners and owners of commercial properties will ultimately be responsible for this, saying, quote, "This is a licensing dilemma that is 100% controlled by the state of Florida. The only people that would actually be not in the clear would be those individual homeowners because they have a responsibility." In your opinion, who should be held responsible for this? And what can homeowners do to insulate themselves from something like this?
That's crazy, because as a homeowner, let's take the standard homeowner that's blue collar family, husband and wife both have jobs, kids are in school, and their jobs are nothing related to the construction industry. And they take their hard-earned money and they go out and they hire an architect to help design the addition, or they're going to put a second level on their house. So they hire an architect to design it and do all the specifications so they can go out to market and get it to bid with contractors. So for the county to say that the responsibility falls on the homeowner, that's sad. I think the architect should take all responsibility for that. I mean, the fraudulent person should be the fall guy on this. No questions asked.
Sure.
Does the homeowner have a responsibility to do their due diligence? Yeah, but this is one of those things. If you don't know, you don't know. I mean, they might not know what questions to ask or what qualifications do they need to kind of check up on as a secondary.
It's just like you hire an accountant to do your taxes. Because you don't know how to do taxes, but the accountant fucks up. You're responsible.
You are responsible. Yeah. That's a real touchy one.
Guess it's anyone but the government.
Yeah, exactly. But you have to pay them. The architect, I imagine if you're going out and you're looking for an architect, there has to be some due diligence of, referrals, maybe calling a few other people, maybe calling the county and checking to see if their license is valid. I guess that'd be the first thing I'd tell anybody out there that's doing a construction project with either a new architect, a new contractor, or subcontractor, is first and foremost, make sure they're licensed and their license is up to date. I believe like in Collier County, can't somebody go to Sunbiz or the Collier County website to make sure that there is a valid license on file?
Yes.
Now let's say
for certain trades, yes.
Now let's say this. Jamie French says it ultimately falls on the homeowner's responsibility. Well, if the architect is not in the system as a licensed architect, but the county accepted those plans. They had that stamp and deemed them okay. They should fucking be held responsible as well.
100%.
Because they're the ones that punish you if your license is expired or out of date. So why wouldn't there be some type of checking mechanism when you're submitting a new set of plans to make sure that that's even a valid architect?
It's funny, they will punish you, but if they make a mistake, they will sometimes admit it and then just say, oops, we made a mistake.
Yeah.
There's no repercussions, no accountability there.
That's sad.
You're right.
That's actually really sad. Were you aware of this?
No. But I think we should, call it as it is. It's a crime. So why not take, what the county said and put it across the board? If your house gets broken into, it should be your responsibility to make, you know what I mean? It's like, we paid these tax dollars to have this entity watch over us and keep us safe in areas maybe that we're not, we have police, we have people that should be going over plans and making sure that everyone's safe and that buildings don't collapse. It shouldn't be, maybe an older resident's ability to check a sheet of paper and know what the architect is and know all the building codes to make sure that her house doesn't fall in on her head. So here's this entity that we pay all of our money to that is not doing their job and then saying it's our job
to do their job.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's our job to enforce, the law in the land, if someone's breaking or committing a crime in front of me, I can't arrest them.
Yeah.
That's the police. But if the police don't do their job, you're saying it's my fault.
It's kind of backwards.
I would just take what they said and apply it to every crime across the board because they're basically victim blaming, at that point.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I'm going to get out of here.
Well,
Got to go.
go ahead. You got to what?
I got to go take the boys fishing. I hear the snook are biting, and there's a opening for world's greatest charter captain.
Well, we appreciate you joining us on this show. We hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, comment. But until next time.
See you then.